Three, two, one.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's 3WND podcast. 3WND is the best place online to hear the biggest, funniest, and most random news stories from around the world this week. I'm Jason.
I'm Mark.
And I am Rob. Hello.
Yes, hello, everyone.
Yeah, welcome back. How we all been?
Good.
Ready
Very
for
good.
another fun-filled edition?
We've got some good news stories this week to discuss.
All right,
The world is burning.
The world is burning, and I think the good starting point for us is big news from the UK, which has taken up all the news feeds, is the Bristol protest and statues being toppled over. So the particular one in question here is Edward Colston in Bristol. So the Black Lives Matter protesters literally pulled down the statue and threw it in the river, which is pretty crazy stuff.
Yeah, we knew there were protests coming this weekend, but last weekend, but obviously the carnage that unfolded and some of it wasn't as expected. Different kinds of stuff happened rather than violence.
Personally,
just a quick background. Yep,
go on.
So the quick background to Edward Colston, who the statue is of. So it's pretty shocking, really. I completely agree with what was done and pulled down his statue. So he became a member of the Royal African Company, which pretty much had a monopoly on trading of people and slaves in England, and it was responsible for bringing about 84,000 African men across the world, men, women, and children, and about 19,000 of these slaves died on their journey, which Edward Colston kind of had an impact on and kind of affected.
Well, that is some crazy shit. And I assume I'm not the only one here that has never heard of Edward Colston before last week.
I had no idea, and what it seemed bizarre. There's a statue of him, to be honest.
Yeah, and I think anyone
at school, right?
Yeah, I think anyone that's got an issue with him being torn down, they also don't know who he is, and they're just, they've got their little agenda of, they just don't want this this change and this movement to go ahead. And I personally, there's lots of footage going around of protests and riots, and I can't really condone police being hurt or bricks thrown at them or smashing, businesses up and buildings and shit like that. But I think this has a purpose to it, and I'm all for it personally. I think it's a good thing.
Yeah, when I first heard it, I just thought, oh, for God's sake, more people were just torn down a statue, just to cause mayhem, rather than actually what the reason is behind it. But then I looked further into it and thought, oh shit, okay, I get it now. It's very relevant to what was going on at the time. But it's a very bizarre thing. I believe he left like a lot of money to the city or something once he died, which is I think why he's got a statue. But
that's what they say. I don't know. He's a philanthropist.
Yeah,
he's a philanthropist. God damn it!
It's a bizarre situation. Yeah, so I guess that's why I'd say that's the main reason why he's got a statue. But at the same time, cities and towns are not moving with the times. That finding things less and less, should be praised, and people should think more about what the hell they stand for to start with.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy, right? That these people can do these things and they can do one good deed and suddenly they're going to be remembered for positive news throughout their lives and history. And we don't ever know the truth. But it's pretty shocking background story to this guy. So
he's not the only one either, because since then, I think Robert Mulligan, there's a statue of him that's come down in East London. And I've seen a petition going around. I think there's something, I'm just making this number up, but there's about 83 statues around the UK that all have history in the slave trade. And
crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, and there's even talk about, Winston Churchill, which is a bit more controversial, I think.
That would be too controversial. I don't think that one.
Yeah.
That won't stick, that one.
I've heard in the past of bad things about Winston Churchill, but I guess you have to, weigh up the good and the bad of what people have done in their lives. And not to excuse it, but how many people were really open-minded 50, 60, 70 years ago? Not that many.
A different time, yeah.
A lot of people aren't now, so.
Yeah, exactly. Even from like our grandparents to the youth of today, it's a massive change. The world's changed so much.
Exactly.
And Boris Johnson's racist, so.
Yeah, he's done he said some very controversial things in his daytime, but we won't roll into that today.
He said a lot of things with Boris Johnson.
Yeah.
Can I just say one thing as well? Did you see the Banksy thing that Banksy said? He was saying that people have a problem with the statue coming down, and some people obviously wanted it removed, and they're wondering what to replace it with. And he had an idea of pulling it back out the sea, resurrecting it again, and then adding on protesters pulling it down. And I thought it was a good idea, because I guess today is like making history. Well, not today, but this year is part of history.
Yeah.
And
every day is.
I'm hoping it's the start of something like concrete that
That's a great idea from Banksy. I think that would just continue to really visualize what happened to everyone to remember, because then they'll pull it down and they'll put someone else up there. But then everyone's going to forget why that person was put up there, right?
Be more powerful.
They won't have any. Yeah.
Yeah. So, just wanted to say that.
No, that's cool. So another big talking point over the last week has been Madeleine McCann. Now, that story's gone quite quiet. I think they're still trying to get information from the German guy who's in jail, who potentially did it. But the conversation is about, is Madeleine McCann dominated front pages? And Black Lives Matter, even coronavirus, is getting less kind of writing time, press time, less kind of conversation around it. Is there some kind of racial profiling going on with the British press? What do you guys think about that?
I think there's no doubt that the press has the power to report on what they want to. And from what I said last week, before I even had time to really think about it, this story's been knocking about for months. Like, I was talking about this in December. So for them just to pull it out their arse and replace that news, not just the Black Lives Matter movement that they probably don't want to report on because they don't know how to deal with it, but also coronavirus, updates and tolls and figures. They probably want to gloss over that as well. So,
I think obviously it's just been going on for months. Obviously, it's actually been going on for 13 years. And I get what you mean. They've found who they thought the prime suspect was, but they obviously couldn't bring that to light until they had more light they could shed on it. And I just think it's unfortunate that's happened at the same time as all of this stuff. But at the same time, I can see why it made the headline news, as it's been a long story, and it's going to sell more papers, because if all people were hearing is about the Black Lives Matters protest and the coronavirus, then this is the story not necessarily everyone's going to have been seeing in the last few days. So it's going to probably make more people buy the paper. Whether that's right or wrong reasonings for it, obviously they're a business at the end of the day. I'm assuming they're caring more about profits than anything, which could tell with some racism, but at the same time,
I think either way you look at it, there's no way in hell that Madeleine McCann's story is more important than the other two stories. It's
not.
Even if it was fresh. Yeah, it's...
It's fresh news. Obviously, we'd heard about this months ago, but most people hadn't.
Well, exactly. And also, you think of people in England, maybe the countryside, maybe the north, or wherever, are they going to be more interested in reading about Madeleine McCann or Black Lives Matter? And maybe it's Madeleine McCann as well, right? I still think newspapers will go by who clicks most, rightly or wrongly, but I can see more people probably clicking the Madeleine McCann story, right? Especially in the UK, where it's been, it was a big story at the time.
I've been hooked on that since like 2007, so I was enthralled in that. But obviously, I've read all up on the Black Lives movements as well. But I'm just saying, if you're just looking at selling a paper, that's probably going to sell more. Whether that race comes into that, I wouldn't necessarily say the race comes into that, but it can be perceived that way. But everything can be perceived something like that.
But I always think that's interesting, right? Saying, is there kind of a racial undertone or racial things making that decision? It's like, I wonder if someone just knows they're being potentially racist when they make these kind of decisions, right? Like, possibly. How does the mind work? Like, or do they just not know they're doing it, but they are being racist,
I think a lot of people...
quite interesting.
I think a lot of people go looking for an issue with something, and it might be that was relevant to go to use last week with all this stuff going on. But sometimes it's I'm not saying it isn't racist, because it might be, but at the same time, I can't say for sure one way or the other. I just go on pure business sense of what the Sun would probably think would sell more. They could not be doing that either.
I think
it's like an interesting point about press and because the fact it's paid or politically biased. Can't really trust 100%.
They could be doing more to help the situations going on at the moment, but
they're probably just a big bunch of pussies, because there's going to be two very opposed sides to these protests, and they're going to upset a big percentage of people, whatever side they take on it. So that's probably one excuse they have, that they're just a big bunch of pussies. But otherwise, it's potentially just a fucking cover up of I don't know. Does Madeleine McCann even exist?
She's a state of mind. Aren't we all just a Madeleine McCann?
She's just a conspiracy theory. She's just every time shit goes wrong, Madeleine McCann's back.
Well, the parents made up the whole thing for a payday. So.
Are they even real? Are they even real?
They are they're now millionaires through I don't know, who knows what.
The name McCann sounds a bit made up to me.
Right. So moving on, but still related is quite interesting news, maybe for the generation in the UK of our age, is certain TV shows are now being pulled off streaming services and TV personalities and actors and personas have to come out and apologize for being offensive to the Black community by having blackface, as it's called, being white but playing Black actors on TV. So the one example is Keith Lemon, Bo Selector on Channel 4 in the 2000s, brings back memories. And also the Mighty Boosh, Little Britain being pulled from TV programs and streaming first. Do you guys think this is just going too far, too politically correct? Or do you feel like these things have to be done and it's the right move from streaming services?
Well, to start with, I found it kind of bizarre that he did come out with the apology, because I get it would offend, but didn't necessarily defend people at the time. And that one of them specific characters he did kind of made the show, and it kind of made his career.
Yeah.
I generally don't think that show would have done half as good without specific characters he used.
But does that have some racial undertones? Did he profit from taking the piss out of Black people?
Are you talking about Craig David, by the way?
Well, more like Keith Lemon and Bo Selector. But definitely with Craig David's help, right? So.
There's the Craig David was one of the characters. I believe Michael Jackson and Mel B. Yep.
Oh yeah. It was there's a lady like talk show host. she's a black woman, British black woman, and he did her. And
oh my God, Trisha, wasn't it?
Trisha, that's it. I was thinking Tessa, but it's not Tessa. Yeah, Trisha.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I mean, that I have to admit, it made me laugh because it was just so like
It highlighted specific
fucking
features
hell.
of people, not necessarily the colors, but like
Melby's nose, for example, right? So
Yeah,
his character had
lips
quite a
was
messed up
huge.
nose.
Patricia had like a super strong Jamaican accent and like stereotypical kind of like terminologies and stuff and slang, and it's just like Trisha's just a very, you know, normal British accent kind of lady. I don't know. It's just I remember just
I
being
never
like,
even
fuck.
considered race watching it. I can see
Yeah.
thoroughly why it is offensive, but now, obviously, about the time, not at all.
That's crazy, isn't it?
But then I read earlier that Friends people that love Friends, they've been complaining that there's not enough ethnic minorities in the show.
I always thought that, right? So if they redid Friends now, they could never have just 5 white
No,
people
not at all.
as characters, right? So I
Or
understand that, but it's, you know,
But it goes a bit far at some points, doesn't it?
that's it. Like, how far should we go? Can we go with this? And are we already going too far? Is it easy for the 3 white guys here? Sam, we've gone too far. You know,
I think it's a slippery slope because you're gonna be able to find more and more reasons to cancel a show.
I think there's yeah. Yeah, let me like for example, The Simpsons had Apu, right? And a lot of people started to kick up a fuss about Apu like 20 years, 30 years after The Simpsons started, and they're saying, you know, it's stereotyping Indian people, blah blah blah, and it is. But then you could say, oh well, Homer's a stereotype because he's, you know, that could be
the middle overweight middle-aged man, balding.
That could be what people see as the average American dad, but I guess it's made by a white American male. I don't know, but you know,
so the Indian actor or the voice for Simpsons quit as well recently.
Yeah, I mean,
there's.
You could say, okay, it's a massive stereotype, but then if people are treading on eggshells too much, do they just not put any other race that they're not representing? I don't know.
There won't be any comedy shows in the future if they go down this route because there'll be more and more reasons. Everything will be so either politically correct and not funny, or just people will be too scared to offend people.
Yeah. In an ideal world, no one would be racist and everyone could laugh at each other together and not take things like this seriously and just be full of love and be like, you know, ha ha ha, this is this and this is that, but no one's racist. But I guess that's not the way the world is. I mean,
no, it's going to go one of two ways. It's either people will calm down about certain things and shows like this will continue to come along. Obviously, I get with like Little Britain, obviously, because they're taking like the piss out of like mentally handicapped, for example.
And as far as I know, by the way, David Walliams and Matt Lucas, I think they're the actors, they haven't apologized or said anything yet of Little Britain.
I haven't heard nothing. No.
So it's just Keith Lemon that came out. They've been pretty quiet.
What was the beef with Mighty Boosh? Because I don't remember any character.
I don't know. I think I read that got canned. I'm not sure. I have no idea why. But that's been pulled.
Are we saying the same message?
Is it the remaining time thing?
Yes. No, it's the time period thing.
Yeah, that always.
That doesn't come up like that before.
It might have.
We'll continue and see what happens.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. So, conclusion to that: do you think we're going too far politically correct, or do you think things happening now around kind of this racial thing has to happen now just to get us going in the right direction? Or is that time will tell? I guess.
I feel like some of it could be going too far. I can't say what currently, but I just feel like we're going down a slope where everything might become too politically correct to make things funny comedy shows anymore.
Yeah.
I think taking down statues of slave masters and things like this, that's a big statement and it's the right statement. But comedy shows are not gonna change that much, especially when they're like 10 years old or whatever they are now. In the future, I think they would naturally be more politically correct because that's the way society is changing. So we shouldn't worry about what's happened in the past too much.
Agreed.
Yeah. Let's see where that all goes in the next couple of weeks. Yeah. Okay. So moving on away from Black Lives Matter and Madeleine McCann, some interesting news that keeps popping up, that keeps going and going and going is US. So the title headline, US demands Prince Andrew is handed over to face questions over Epstein. So at the weekend, I actually watched the Jeffrey Epstein documentary on Netflix. Filthy Rich. You have?
Yep.
Super interesting. And by watching this documentary, I firmly believe that Prince Andrew should be going to freaking jail.
I mean, I haven't seen this,
he's a freaking prince. So the story is, for everyone who doesn't quite know, Jeffrey Epstein obviously committed suicide in jail last year. He was being investigated for being a pedophile, having sex with underage girls, soliciting prostitutions, underage prostitution. He's a bad guy. But he was very, very rich. He got a sweetheart deal where he spent 18 months in jail, I think 10 years ago, 2008, 2009, or something like that, for his crimes. But this 18-month jail time, right, just quick, is he got given 12 hours a day. He can leave jail to go to work. And it was really hush-hush. No one quite knows how that happened. Eventually, he went to jail, he went to court and did get sentenced a bit more harshly, but then he committed suicide. Or did he? That's a big conspiracy around that. Does he have information on very powerful, So does he have information on powerful people that wanted him out of the way? Who knows? That's for us to discuss. But quickly, how Prince Andrew's involved. So Prince Andrew was good friends in theory with Jeffrey Epstein, or that's how it's perceived. And he spent a lot of time at Jeffrey Epstein's apartment in New York and houses in Florida, and also Epstein's Caribbean island he owned. And there's obviously lots of victims from Jeffrey Epstein, and they've also claimed, or at least one has claimed, Virginia Roberts, that she had sex with Prince Andrew, which he denies, as an underage girl.
And for Mark, who has not seen this, there was an eyewitness who was, I think, a pool cleaner who saw Prince Andrew grinding up against a girl with just her bikini bottoms on and topless, I think. And this girl was, I think he said she looked about 15, 16, and he didn't know who she was, but then he saw a picture of this girl Jason just mentioned, and he goes, yeah, that's the one.
Oh.
And that was Virginia Roberts.
Yeah.
He claimed she was underage at the time. There's also a photograph. So the photograph of the time in London, where they partied, and Virginia Roberts claims they had sex, which Prince Andrew denies. So
I see. Sounds a bit sketchy.
Yeah. So right now, the American authorities want Prince Andrew to be involved in the case against Epstein, and also people involved with him. And I don't think he's been that cooperative, or he's not really helping out as much as they want. He says he is. There's a bit of tit for tat going on. But man, there's big cover-ups going on.
Are you familiar with the conspiracy, Mark?
The conspiracy of
the Epstein's death? He was basically in a high security prison, already on suicide watch. 2 guards were watching him who happened to be taking a nap or something, or turning their back, plus 2 video cameras, I think, 2 or maybe 3, were on him, which happened to malfunction at the time of his suicide for like the 10 minutes that he was hanging himself. You know, if you're on suicide watch, you can't really have anything that you could possibly kill yourself with. And yeah, basically saying, people were saying he was about to blow the whistle on a lot of big personalities, including probably Prince Andrew and possibly Bill Clinton, because they seemed.
Yeah. And how was he found dead? What had he allegedly done?
I think he apparently hung himself with his duvet.
Yeah,
His
so apparently he
duvet.
choked himself with his duvet or bed sheet
Oh,
or
I
something.
do remember that now.
But then on the documentary, a doctor's had a look at like his bones around his neck or whatever, and he says it doesn't look like a suicidal damage to his neck. It looks like he needed more force. Plus, a victim of Jeffrey Epstein said that in his big Manhattan apartment or New York apartment, there's video cameras everywhere. So if Jeffrey Epstein's friends were there and sleeping with some of his underage girls, he would have had it all on video, so he could have blackmailed anyone.
That's interesting.
And he used to go into schools and he used to pay girls to come to his apartment, underage girls, to give him massages, and he used to get those girls to recruit other girls to go to his apartment and whatever for massages, like, and did it for years, decades even. Shocking.
He had about 4 female accomplices that helped recruit these girls, and then the girls that got recruited more, and then more and more. And one was his girlfriend, who's a British woman, can't remember her name.
Who's also not been arrested or anything.
Yeah, she needs to be looked into, man. She's also very dodgy. But yeah, the conspiracies on that is just like layers and layers and layers. I've even heard about the conspiracy of how Jeffrey Epstein made his money, because people don't actually know how he got rich, basically.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, that sounds very suspicious. I guess sometimes we probably would never know.
No, but I recommend you watching it. Also, just for anyone listening, including you two, if that kind of thing interests you, there's a documentary I watched called Tell Me Who I Am, which is on Netflix. Okay. It's very similar in the way that I guess people with a lot of power have used it to manipulate young people for evil. Let's put it that way. So yeah.
Oh, okay.
There's pedophiles out there, you guys. So watch your back.
Hopefully they can't all work for the BBC. So.
Fucking hell, yeah. There's been a lot of pedophiles lately.
I think it was just it was easier to catch them out now rather than back in the day. And they didn't just like all become pedophiles after 1970. But maybe something was in the water, I don't know. Now, shall we go for a quick break and then come back for the second half of the funny stories?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, can do. It's saying that it's time's running out, you guys, so we'll take a break.
Yeah, we'll go for a quick break. We'll go for a quick break and we'll see you shortly.
Cool beans. Peace out.
Hello and welcome back. So we're moving on from the big topics of this week to some funny, random, light-hearted stories that we've uncovered. And so starting off with an Australian story. So the headline is, police abandon murder investigation after discovering victim was actually a sex doll.
Sex doll again.
So I'll give you a little bit of background to the story. So the bizarre find also included animal blood and brains, lingerie, and a sock. So it seems like
a Friday night for me.
Seems like it was made to look like a real murder.
That sock.
Police. And also
the sock just makes it dark as fuck.
Naomi.
Naomi. Yeah. Naomi is a pretty name, you know. I like it. How do they know the name was Naomi?
That's a good point.
I never considered that. Maybe he had spent a night with them afterwards, you know. Had a few drinks. One thing that's
apparently there was the forensic expert spent a couple of hours examining the dead sex doll body until they realized what was going on.
Now, do they think when they say it was a lifelike replica doll of a human, they said it was a very realistic sex doll. Now, do you reckon we're talking like the old school sex dolls or like the weird sex robot things that they've come into life in the last few years?
But they're a lot of money.
That's what I was thinking. They're like over 10 grand as far as I was aware.
Do you know, Mark? How would you know that, Mark?
Hey, what me and Naomi do Hey, unfortunately, me and Naomi are social distancing at the moment, but
But if
I
you're saying like the doll might be expensive and that's a crazy thing just to murder it, it's also got animal blood and brains. So it's not, he didn't take this lightly.
that's a good. Oh, is it possible we've got like another "don't fuck with cats" situation where they actually are, you know, he's going around killing animals to use for a prank later on? You know,
There's
why are they
someone
not
out there that
considering
doesn't like
this?
Naomi's, I feel. Someone called Naomi
Disgraceful.
has done him wrong.
It's a pretty name. Yeah, but like, so now that mean that sex doll is now just gonna be sitting in like uh in the police station under like evidence.
Until it goes missing, right? And
Yeah,
there's
conveniently.
some police officer having some fun with
Wait a
it.
minute. I've just found a semen trace. That wasn't there last week.
I just think, you know, with the social distancing going on, that might have been taken out of evidence pretty quickly. In crazy
Smith.
Australians. That is a weird story, but I did love it because it. How long do you reckon it took for them to realize that it wasn't a real person?
It's been a couple of hours. Forensic team spent a couple of hours. So
How
I don't know
realistic
what
was
they
this
were
sex doll?
doing. Yeah,
Yeah.
there's not a picture, right? I wish there was.
I bet you do.
That is mad because I don't know what they found, but if it's a body, wouldn't they expect to find organs straight away? Like a sex doll's not going to have organs, it's not going to have intestines and a heart and liver.
That's what makes me think it's got to be one of them robot things. Just because, how realistic can it look to fall in for several hours?
Hopefully they realise sooner than a couple of
Maybe they're
hours.
just stupid. Maybe the police aren't very good in Australia. Who knows?
Queensland, there's a lot of bush up there, isn't there? There's not much going.
What was it supposed to mean?
Maybe that's the wrong choice of word right there.
That was good.
I
like that.
bush.
I like that. I like a lot of time for that.
Okay, so another good story, another doozy we've come across. So
Whoa! I didn't come across the first one.
right, so this one is doctors remove mobile phone charger from man's bladder.
Now,
so
do you want to go into the story?
Yeah, sure. So obviously the patient went to the doctors complaining about abdominal pain. But right now, no one knows, in theory, how this phone charger was in his bladder, and he apparently didn't know. So doctors believe it was swallowed or inserted for sexual gratification. So they believe this man wanted to put a phone charger in himself,
How can he do that?
for
How can he do
thrills.
that?
But he didn't want to admit that to the doctors. He didn't know that was what was causing the pain. So the doctors did an X-ray, found the charger, and then had to go and remove it.
So was this charger like one of those USB cables, or was it like
it was
a proper plug?
It was 2 meters long.
Did it have a plug on it?
I'm looking at the X-ray scans. There was no plug.
I think it's
even still lead. To get in your bladder, you need to put up your dick hole, right?
Yeah,
you can't get it to your bladder through your
how
ass.
Can you?
Or can you?
But how can you even get it up there? You can't pull it up.
There's no way.
Yeah.
And it was very conveniently wrapped up when it's in his bladder from the X-rays. What I found the funny about it said the man said to have a history of accidental ingestion of headphones. Like, what is he doing? Is he an iPod?
Accidental in inverted commas.
So this was all everyone. This happened in North India, by the way. We didn't clarify that. So this is in a story out of Northern India.
I just don't understand how you can do it. How it's physically possible. If I wanted to do it, you know, asking for a friend, how?
I don't know. Is there any way food can get to your bladder? Because that could be the only explanation. I think.
I don't want to think about that.
I mean, I'm not going to lie. I am Googling it. There's got to be a way, because I can't see how you could pull it up there. Nope. It doesn't mention how anything can get in your bladder. Wow. If any of you have a theory, please sign in and tell us. I'm very
Give us
confused.
any comments. So yeah,
That is bizarre.
wonder what kind of sexual gratification it does as well. You know, how does that feel good? Like, what the fuck?
Maybe
It makes him feel.
the only thing he gets out of it is you can tell women my sex is electrifying.
I was gonna say it gets him very sexually charged.
Nice.
It's like nice.
Okay.
Moving on.
Yeah. So moving on, another really great story just come across. The headline is Donkey arrested on charge of gambling in Pakistan.
Wow.
So an unusual and bizarre incident, no doubt. So the donkey was arrested for participating in gambling. There were other, I think, people involved, and I guess the donkey was in the wrong place at the wrong time. Yeah, so in Punjab province, Pakistan, 8 people along with the donkey.
Now, the officers told to arrest the donkey. Do you think they were like, what? Or do you
Did they
reckon they were
handcuff
like,
it, do you think?
do you reckon they played good cop, bad cop on it? You're going
Oh,
away
God.
for a long time, boy.
What do you think all the people, the men they arrested is blamed on the donkey? It wasn't me or the donkey.
I mean, I definitely
Like,
wouldn't get away
me.
with that here. I don't understand. Is everyone brain dead now? Because is it even a donkey? Are donkeys real?
Is it Madeleine McCann?
You know what, mate? I think you're right.
Like,
That is a
I need to break this down. So, firstly, a donkey has no concept of money and gambling. It doesn't
Allegedly.
Oh, do you
understand
know that? Do you know that,
language.
Rob? Come on.
It has no agenda for cheating or gambling. What is going through their fucking brain?
I don't know, and I don't. Have they got anywhere they can actually keep the donkey?
Yeah. Donkey Joe.
Because unless they've got literally, like, you know, a zoo. Do you reckon there's a zoo in India which just has arrested animals in it? I would pay to go to that, to be fair.
I was just thinking about what is the history of arrested animals. I mean, it's not even like it's a monkey or something that
Would that
monkeys,
make it better?
Well, slightly more understandable.
Well, that a monkey got arrested for gambling?
Well, I was thinking pickpocketing, but
I mean, dolphins, if anything, that's supposed to be the most intelligent creature.
They're horrible, by the way. I read something about dolphins. They're horrible creatures, man.
Jason, was you molested by a dolphin?
No, but they rape their own mums.
And
yeah, there's been studies, and they
what's that noise?
round up female dolphins.
What kind of studies they're getting done these days?
Super nasty. Like, dolphins are horrible animals based on this study. Nasty
Mammals.
shit. Yeah, it's nasty. So there should be a dolphin, Joe. I'm 100% for that.
It's called the ocean.
I read an article about those, quackers from Australia, those really cute little gerbil-looking things. Apparently,
no.
Just Google quacker. And
whoa.
Apparently when a predator comes for them, they pick up the babies and throw it at them.
What?
They're little fuckers as
What?
well. Yeah, apparently. I'm pretty sure it was what I read.
I have to do some backstory to this after the podcast.
Shut up next week. What's the worst? The horriblest animals in the animal kingdom, man.
That's for next week.
Yeah, I would enjoy a good theme on, rebel animals that get arrested. But how many features can you have of that?
Well, there's definitely a donkey in jail somewhere in Pakistan.
Well, we got one. That's more than some people, right?
I don't think we have a sex doll story like every single week, but we've had. Yeah.
That's a good feature. I mean, I'll be amazed if we do come up with another one next week, because how many sex doll stories are there?
Should make a jingle.
Sure, we can find one.
Sex
I don't want to really
doll
Google sex doll. Yeah. I don't want to Google sex doll stories in case I get some bizarre cookies on my Facebook.
Right, so another quite funny story we've come across. So the headline is 2 men rob US convenience store wearing watermelon rind disguises. So
that pretty much explains it, but do you want to go into more detail?
yeah, so these 2 guys wanted to rob a convenience store. Now the standard way of robbing a place is you have a mask, very normal and standard. These guys just made the decision to go with empty watermelons, literally on their head, with eyeball cuts out and everything. And yeah, I don't know.
Did they get arrested?
That's exactly what.
I under the
this could be
impression they
genius.
did not.
The only benefit for this is to eat whilst you're robbing someone. Like, have a little snack. Might make you run
At the
faster.
time, they were not arrested, but since then, one person has been arrested, Justin Rogers, but they're still looking for the second.
Now, what I find genius about this is that what I'm telling you is genius about this is in a lot of these kind of crimes, sometimes they wear very, very specific masks which can be traced back. Whereas you're going to buy watermelon. How many people a day are buying a watermelon? And you can eat the evidence. It's absolutely genius. I was thinking about this earlier.
You're saying that, but on the other hand, everyone's got a mask right now. It's just the perfect time to wear a mask and rob something. It's coronavirus city.
It's just not as exciting though.
Half of your face is covered naturally.
My theory is they wouldn't have made the podcast, therefore it's not as fun. So they wanted to make something a bit more exciting. I find it genius. But I would like to know how far they had to walk with them on their head prior to getting in the shop.
There's so many more practical things.
Like what? What would you wear?
Watermelon's so wet. Don't know, coronavirus mask?
Yeah, right.
A balaclava?
See, you'd never get
gas
mask.
That's so boring, Rob. That's what everyone wears.
Yeah.
At least my
These
hair would
guys
dry.
got away with it.
What would I wear? I'd go pure fancy dress. Maybe I'd wear my gingerbread man costume with some sunglasses.
The sad gingerbread man. Yeah,
the sad gingerbread man costume with some Kanye West sunglasses.
All you have to do is look at your Facebook and be like, this guy.
Hey, I've only used that costume 9 or 10 dozen times.
Every single year.
It's cute. It makes me look adorable. You know, I've heard rumors.
I don't know what else I've got to say on this.
I just think it was genius.
And they got away with it. Well, at least one person definitely, right? So it really worked. So you got a bravo, guys.
Didn't say how much money they got away with, did it?
No, I don't know what they were trying to rob.
They stole three boxes of grapes and half a dozen oranges.
I wonder how they decided. We needed skies. That's a watermelon. Like, what the hell?
Maybe they were just eating a watermelon one day, going, "Bro, need some cash."
Imagine sprinting with a watermelon. You'll be like so top heavy. That'd be so awkward.
I mean, you'd definitely be noticeable leaving the shop. It's a tricky one. I don't know. I find it very, very clever, and I applaud them. But I do not condone their actions.
Gotta put that.
Definitely not.
Exactly.
Right. I think that's one of our stories for this week.
Is it really?
We had. I believe so. But didn't we not have a question from a fan?
We do. One of our top fans.
And what did they say?
His name is Liam.
Okay.
I can give you a word-for-word quote if you want.
Yeah, sure.
So Liam wrote in, hello Liam. What would make you excited for your day every day? And I assume it goes out to all of us.
What would make you excited for your day every day?
Definitely listen to the 3WND podcast every day.
I think that
makes me happy.
Even though it's weekly.
Without saying. Yeah, but I'd listen to it 7 times a week. Because it's that fun. Now,
it's good to wake up to.
I think pre-lockdown, this would be a lot harder question. Like right now, I think a bit more normality. I think after this finishes, I'll definitely be more appreciative of literally doing nothing, knowing I can do something. Whereas right now, options are very limited. You realize just how much of life you did get to live, whereas now you're a bit more contained. Luckily, it's getting a bit better day by day. Obviously, Jason's not in that situation as much as us now, but I I think once we go back to normality, I'll probably appreciate everything a bit more every day. What about you two?
Well, for me, the first thing that popped into my mind was blowjob. But then when I was having to think about it today, when I was doing a number 2, I thought, let's get philosophical about this. I was thinking, okay, so I think monotony would be the opposite to excitement. So if monotony is the opposite to excitement, then surely variation in your day would be excitement. So I think to have a variation in your life is keeping you excited.
So you don't want any structure to your days. You'd like every day to be different.
Oh yeah, I thought more about this. There's some things that are good to be structured, because I thought, a boring part of my day is driving into work, but I don't want it to be too exciting. I don't want to run over a goose one day and then get
a boiled goose.
Boiled goose. So yeah, I mean, a little bit of variation every day would be nice, I guess. I mean, that's the best answer I have at this moment.
Hey, Jason, you got some big standards to live up to for your one.
So what would make me excited for my day?
Maybe
Coffee.
It would be coffee. Coffee makes you excited every day.
I'm so easily pleased, you see.
I mean, you could have said blowjob.
Yeah, I do that. I guess it's progressing with my life, knowing where I want to go and trying to get there, making a little bit of progress every day.
And is your progress having a coffee?
While podcasting. That's pretty much the dream, isn't it? Everyone's dream.
Would you rather podcast and have a coffee at the same time, or would you rather have a blowjob and have a coffee at the same time?
It's a combo I've never really thought about before, but I go with blowjob and coffee.
You were supposed to say the podcast because of how good.
Oh, the podcast and coffee.
Maybe you could do all 3. I mean, I don't want to have to see you getting the coffee.
Yeah, this is getting a little bit too weird now, guys.
I've got a feeling there'll be extra cream on that coffee.
Well, I hope that answers your question, Liam.
Emphatically.
You got a wide variation of answers, but that's because we're so different and unique.
Indeed.
Yeah, keep the questions coming, guys.
Yeah, and where can they find us if they have any questions, Jason?
So, everyone, do not forget to like and subscribe to our YouTube page, which is 3WND Newscast. Any comments, we'll give you a shout out on the show. We'll answer any questions. We have a Twitter, 3@3WND. Give us a tweet. Follow us.
3_WMD, I believe.
All right, there you go. 3_WND. We have an email.
To like and subscribe. We do have an email.
I don't know what the email is, so we'll tell you that next week.
Emails are so 90s anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, tweet us for now and we'll work out the rest later.
And we have content weekly, so subscribe. You'll be the first to know about it.
Exactly. Always checking new stories for you guys. Okay, well that wraps up the 3rd show.
What humdinger it was.
It was. I had a great time. And I hope you guys at home did as well. So thanks for signing in, and we'll be with you again next week for some more fun chat and serious debate. Cheers, guys.
Sex dolls. See you later. Bye.